안녕하세요. 즐거운 일요일 아침입니다. 날씨가 너무 좋네요. 오늘도 출근해야 됩니다. 어저께 턱걸이 신나서 했더니 등이 알배긴 것 같아요. 오늘 또 출근을 해야 되니까 일요일까지 상체죠. 일요일은 좀 쉴까? 일단은 스트레칭 먼저 하겠습니다. 지금 장난 아니에요.
Would, should, or could blood transfusions from recovered coronavirus patients be used to potentially aid in the recovery of currently known coronavirus patients? Thank you.
Dr. Fauci, I think that's a convalescent serum, right? I think he's talking about, he's asking about.
Right. Right, that's exactly correct. And in fact, it would not be the first disease in which you've actually had some success with this. There are a couple of studies going on. One is convalescent sera, the other is the immune globulin from that sera, and the other is the development of monoclonal antibodies from an individual who might actually have recovered, where you actually can clone those B cells and get an unlimited amount of supply. The concept of passive transfer of antibodies is a sound concept that deserves a very serious clinical trial.
This next one is from Emily Mitchell in Charlotte, North Carolina. Let's take a look.
I'm 25 and live in North Carolina. My parents are in their 60s and live in Virginia. I recently flew on a plane domestically and I'm still getting over a sinus infection that I had a few weeks ago. They are really insistent on me going home to be with them for this quarantine, but I'm really worried about if I'm a carrier and just don't know it yet. What advice do you have about me going home? And also, how would you recommend talking to older individuals who might not want to think that they're at such a risk?
Well, there are a couple of questions there. I mean, first of all, if you have reason to believe that you've been exposed to someone who is infected, then you really should do what we recommend of virtually anybody. What you should do is that you should isolate yourself for up to 14 days, call a physician, see if you want to get tested, and if a testing is available, get tested. It sounds like you are at a low risk from what I just heard, but again, I'd want to hear a little bit more about it. With regard to elderly parents, I think you've got to emphasize we have a responsibility in society to protect the vulnerable, and those are the elderly, particularly those with underlying conditions. So if you go home and you have any idea that you might have been exposed, you've got to isolate yourself from your parents. And in fact, the recommendations now, particularly in areas where there's a lot of infection, that individuals who are elderly or with chronic conditions that are compromising them, that they should self-isolate and get them away from any possible exposure to someone who might be infected.
So regardless of whether she was sick or not, probably at this time, at least for the next few weeks, not visit, you're saying. A lot of people out there thinking about visiting their parents.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I meant. I mean, we have, you're getting on a plane right now, depending upon where you are, you're getting on a plane. I don't want to worry a lot of people get on planes, but to the extent possible, you should avoid anything but necessary travel. Now, obviously, you love your parents and you want to be with your parents, but just think it might be better now to separate yourself from your parents so you don't put them at risk.
Good point, Dr. Fauci. Got another question. Siley in Cranberry, New Jersey sent in this video.
Hi, I'm a senior high school student from Plainsboro, New Jersey. My school campus has recently closed and we've moved to online learning because of the current coronavirus pandemic. I wish to become a physician when I am older. I was wondering what I and others like me can do to help medical personnel and others in need that are currently working tirelessly to save people from this virus.
Need some help, Dr. Fauci?
Well, I sure can. I'll give you some work so I can get some more sleep. No, I think there are many ways in which people like yourself who are altruistic and want to be part of the solution that you can volunteer, whether you do that from faith-based services or what you do. I believe there's a lot of opportunity for people like yourself who want to contribute to volunteer. I mean, the easiest way to do that, I can see it through community services or even faith-based services.
Dr. Fauci, as always, we appreciate your time. We know how busy you are. Please keep doing what you're doing. Thank you.
Some rest.
Yeah,
Good to be with you, Anderson and Sanjay.
Just ahead, what the chairman of the Federal Reserve says about a recession and your questions about the frightening economic impact of the pandemic.
That look nice. Yeah, I think we're ready to do the call. Hello? Can you hear me?
This is our new reality, working from home. But how do we go remote? Richard Quest talks best practices.
Then why?
The new work-life balance, and how this experiment could reshape the future of business.
Post-pandemic working life is not going to be the same.
WFH, New Reality, this weekend on CNN.
This is the 100 Club, our look at companies that are 100 years old or older. Movies can touch the outer reaches of space, revive a distant past,
There's a dinosaur.
and take us on a journey back into the future, all in less than 2 hours.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
So this is the iconic Courthouse Square, which has been on Universal's backlot since 1948. Right up here is the clock tower where Doc Brown was able to catch the lightning bolt to energize the DeLorean going right down this street to send it back to the future.
In 1912, Universal began making films, churning out an average of one a week. But it wasn't until 1931, with the debut of Dracula, where Universal made its mark.
My blood now flows through her veins.
The horror film genre may have scared audiences, but they saved Universal during the darkest days of the Depression. In recent times, franchises have proven to be fan favorites and financial juggernauts. In 2011, the company was bought by Comcast, and 2017 was Universal's most profitable year in history.
It's an incredible group of people that really run and work in this company, and it's the reason this company has survived for 100 plus years, and I believe will survive hopefully for another 100 years.
All new Inside Africa. Unlocking the mysteries behind the continent you thought you knew. In Cape Town, a unique arts mentorship program promotes cross-cultural collaboration.
Once you are a protege or a mentor, you are a part of the Rolex family.
Inside Africa, today, only on CNN, in association with Zenith Bank.
I'm Nick Payton-Walsh in a deserted Trafalgar Square, London, and this is CNN.
Back to our fourth coronavirus town hall. You still have our social media scroll at the bottom of the screen. You can tweet your questions with a hashtag CNN Town Hall. You can also leave a comment on the CNN Facebook page. The clearest signal of the crushing economic impact of the virus came today when initial claims for unemployment ballooned to more than 3 million. That's the highest initial claims in the nation's history. So just think about that for a moment. Highest in the history of the country. In a week's time, and the chairman of the Federal Reserve says the United States may already be in a recession. Joining us now, CNN's business editor-at-large, Richard Quest. He's ready to answer your questions. So, Richard, I mean, hard to underscore the economic fallout that's already occurred because of this.
Absolutely. That 3.3 million number tells its own tale, and it could get a great deal worse as this rolls across the rest of the country. I was looking at some economic forecasts. JP Morgan think that unemployment will top out at about 8.5%. Remember, we ended last year at 3.5%. Oxford Economics say it could be 10% that will be unemployed. But although this is horrific, you have to remember why it's happened. It's because the economy has been artificially paused. So a lot of these jobs will come back when the economy gets going again. The issue, of course, is that the economy needs to stay paused while the virus dissipates and is got rid of. if the virus is allowed to incubate and continues, and you were saying, Sanjay, it's called the virus economy, you know, the significance here is that the social distancing must be maintained. And even though the economic numbers may look dreadful, bordering on disastrous, they will repair and recover quicker as a result of what's being done.
And we'll get to ask Bill Gates as well, Richard, a little bit about some of these things, his perspective. And I'll preface this question by saying, as doctors, we know nothing about money. So I'll put that out there. But Fed Chief Jerome Powell, he did say that quote, we may well be in a recession. How long do you foresee the economy then being affected, Richard, given all that you just said?
He was being polite. He knows full well that the economy is in recession in the sense of, you know, how long it will be. Go back to 2008, and it was 4 quarters that the economy was in recession. But we don't expect anything like that this time round, for the simple reason the economy has been artificially stopped, and it will be started up again, hopefully in the second quarter at some point. And that's the point. By Q3, you should be seeing a recovery. By Q4, according to Ben Bernanke and Jay Powell, the recovery could be robust. Now, that sounds heartless when you think about the fact there'll be many businesses that will fail as a result of all of this. Thousands, tens of thousands. But for most people in work, when their companies restart, they will be taken back in again. The economy will get back up and running again. And I think by next year, by the beginning of next year, you'll be looking at good growth.
But as you said, it all depends on the medical front. I mean, we just heard from Dr. Fauci, this could become a seasonal thing. We don't know the impact of that.
Completely.
Yeah, we have a lot of questions from viewers. The stimulus package making its way through Congress. Cheryl O'Brien wants to know, is there some kind of relief in the package for independent contractors? I currently do not have work because of the shutdown. I cannot receive unemployment. Is there any help in the stimulus package? She wants to know.
I spent a good half hour going through the stimulus package to find exactly chapter and verse for you, Cheryl. And yes, in general,
몇 분 했죠?
during the
11분?
period, individuals
20분
who
넘게 한 것
operate
같은데.
as a sole partnership or as an independent contractor shall be eligible for a covered loan. Now, it's not a grant, it's going to be a loan. And from what I've been hearing from people trying to get in touch with authorities, there's a lot of bureaucracy getting through. But yes, Cheryl, sole proprietors and independent contractors are covered as if they were employees.
And Richard, James Rasick has another question for you. It says, for those of us who will be receiving a government stimulus check but are less affected by the virus, where can we donate our checks in order to help support our national medical efforts? Fantastic question. Love it. Do you know anything about that, Richard?
I do. There's obviously, besides your normal faith-based organizations in your own area, which I'm sure would happily take the money because they're helping local people, the big companies like Spotify is going to match up to 10 million. Facebook has said it'll match. Yelp has said it will match. But also Impact Your World. CNN has compiled a list of places where you can find details of where you can help. So from the big to the small, right down to your church, synagogue, or temple on the corner, they'll take your money.
Richard, just internationally, I mean, what are countries
지금 CNN에서 이렇게 토론을 하고 있는데 밑에 트위터나 페이스북으로 이제 질문이 막 와요. 사람들이, 시청자들이. 잠복비가 얼마냐, 공기 중에 얼마나 살아있냐, 피부로 감염되냐.
The United Kingdom is agreed to pay 80%
진짜
of
정말 기본적인 질문 있잖아요.
And today it said it would do
그게
the same
지금
for the self-employed.
미국의 상황이에요. 저희는 뭐 한 달 전에 이미 막 손 씻고 마스크 쓰고 비말에 감염 제거 이런 거를 되게 많이 홍보가 되는데 지금 미국 사람들은 그걸 모르는 거예요.
And that's because the G20 continues to just
뭐 양성 반응에 대한 확률 막 이런 거.
But doesn't seem very quick to be able to do it. No, governments around the world are
미국에서 얼마나 갖고 왔냐 막 이런 거고.
an average of between say 8
일단은
to
아직
12%.
미국은 정정을 아직 안 찍었죠. 아직은.
Richard, thanks very much.
다음 주 2주 좀 더 강한 격리 조치나 이런 게 좀 나와야 될 것 같은데 우리나라도 지금 안 죽고 있죠. 사실 100명 밑으로 떨어질 줄 알았는데 안 떨어지고 있어요. 계속.
I want everyone to know
진짜
that there
개인
is
위생과
something that
자가격리에
we can do
대해서
right now to
자가격리
slow
사회적
the
거리두기를
spread of coronavirus.
좀 더
That
철저히
we're not powerless, as
지켜야
we've
될 것
been talking
같습니다.
about, Anderson. We're not powerless against this virus.
목포에서 어떤
We can reduce the
사람이
spread of
태국에서 갔다
COVID-19
왔는데
by taking
확진
simple
판정이
steps,
났대요.
physical distancing, social distancing,
확정 판정이 나기
and
전이었나?
staying at
아무튼
home
자가격리
as much as we
중인데
can. Taking care
PC방
of
가고
ourselves,
카페 가고
taking
친구들
care of our
만나고
loved ones is also our best defense to protect the community as well.
난리 났죠, 난리 났죠.
Let's get some viewer questions. This one is sent in from Lynn in Ohio. She wants to know, we're a family of 4. Myself and 2 children are staying home with no outside exposure. My husband is still going to work. He showers as soon as he comes home from work. Is it safe for him to hug our children? Dr. Wen?
A lot of families are in this position where somebody does have to go to work. Maybe they're a healthcare worker, police officer. They're around a lot of people and don't have the option of staying at home. We can reduce our risk. We can't eliminate every risk, but I would recommend that while the husband is at work, that he takes every precaution, staying away from people when possible, washing hands, practicing good hand and face hygiene. When coming home, definitely take off clothes, shower, etc., and then go hug and play with the kids. And I think it's another reminder for all of us who can stay at home that we should stay at home because there are so many who cannot.
Sanjay, this is a question that Charles sent in from Hawaii. It reads, for those who contract,
진짜 단어 공부해야 됩니다, 여러분. 진짜 회화 공부도 중요하긴 한데 진짜 단어 공부 또 같이 병행을 해야 돼요. 무조건 따로 공부를 해야 됩니다.
It's called serology testing.
뭐 이렇게 계속 제가 보고 있다고 해서 모든 단어를
Dr. Fauci was
아는 건
talking about.
아니잖아요.
When you have the infection, your body reacts to it, makes these antibodies, and those antibodies can sort of be a signature that you were previously infected, and you can test for that. And as Dr. Fauci was talking about, maybe you could even use some antibodies and inject that into somebody else to help treat their coronavirus infection. So that's all sort of some time away still, but the answer is yes, you can test for that sort of thing.
Dr. Wen, if you get the virus and then you recover from it, you don't go to the hospital, you don't, end up actually getting tested, will you, and assuming there is immunity to this, that you are then immune, is there any way to know if you had the virus and you are therefore immune just for the future, down the road?